to the podcast. Not so much glory this weekend. But before we talk about the last two games since we were last on, we w- we want to reflect on the life and career of Manchester United legend Denis Law, who of course was one of the United Trinity, um, and what a career he had, winning two First Division titles at Old Trafford, winning the FA Cup, winning the European Cup, of course, European Cup top scorer 1969, Ballon d'Or winner 1964, and in that season he scored 46 goals in just 42 games for Man United. He's seen as one of Scotland's best ever players, um, and one of the Trinity, as I say, alongside George Best and Bobby Charlton, and those two passed away, one in 2005 and one in 2023. And Dennis was the last remaining member, and he's now passed away at the age of 84. So, one of the biggest giants in the club's history, Brush, has passed away.
Yeah, yeah, and the last of the Holy Trinity, as you say, absolute legend. Yeah, and won all the top honors. Was one of the best. Ballon d'Or winner, as you say, in '64. I thought it was really nice the ceremony and how we remembered him on the day. But that was about the only highlight of the game yesterday.
Yeah, he was the last remaining member of the three. He's the only Man United legend to have two statues at Old Trafford. One in the concourse of the upper tier of the Stratford End, and one as part of the three outside. And also they've got the statue of Matt Busby looking down on them. Um, so unfortunately, just like Bobby, he contracted vascular dementia and I think Alzheimer's disease as well. So
Hmm.
this news broke in August 2021. So we knew it was only a matter of time, and it's happened this month, just short of his 85th birthday. And yeah, he had a marvelous career. It could have been even his goal record could have been even better, only for persistent knee injuries that he had. And he scored a wide variety of goals, overhead kicks, headers, goes from outside the box, goes from inside the box. Also a great footballer. I heard a story that Paddy Crerand at a dinner asked Matt Busby before he passed away, you coached all these world class brilliant players at Man United. Which one would you say was the best? And he said Denis Law. So that might surprise a few people, given he coached Duncan Edwards, George Best, and Bobby Charlton, but Matt Busby apparently thought that Denis Law was the best footballer of the whole lot. Um, yeah, and he also got to play in the World Cup for Scotland in 1974 before he retired. He, of course, scored that infamous backheel goal for Manchester City against United, and you know it's not true that that relegate United, as regardless of the result of the game, United would have
It
been
sells
relegated.
papers, doesn't it?
Yeah,
So that was the headline. But yeah, we would have been going down anyway.
yeah, but nevertheless, he didn't feel good about it and
No.
didn't play another club match after that. Um, he played in the World Cup and then retired. I don't think he was very happy about um, you know contributing to the relegation of Man United as he thought at the time. He of course played for Man City twice, both at the start and the end of his career, which might surprise a few people. He also played for Torino in Italy, and still some glowing reviews coming out of Italy. There, they thought he was a fabulous footballer as well. And obviously started off his career at Huddersfield under Bill Shankly, who wanted to bring him to Liverpool, but Liverpool wouldn't pay the money for him, and what a mistake that was. Um,
How different things could have been, eh?
um, so we didn't manage to honour him much on the pitch, unfortunately, yet.
No.
But I do want to point out something. I've done my research on this. So when Sir Matt Busby passed away in 1994, United won the league and cup double. When George Best passed away that season, United won the League Cup. when Bobby Charlton passed away, United won the FA Cup that season, as last season, of course. So I'm hoping that we're going to win a trophy this season. As we tend to honor our legends by winning the trophy in the season in which they pass away. So I'm hoping that trend continues. But at the minute, the jury's out on that one. Um, so before we talk about yesterday, I want to take a quick look back at Southampton,
Mm.
and who, of course, are rock bottom of the league by a country mile and only have 6 points on the board, and still need 5 points to equal the worst record of points in the Premier League, which Derby managed in
2008 was it?
2008.
Yeah.
Um, we somehow got absolutely outplayed by the bottom team at Old Trafford, and we were lucky just to be 1-0 down at half time. Thankfully, a 12-minute hat trick at the end of the game by our star man, Ahmed Diallo, rescued us from the embarrassment. But having watched that performance, I worried once we going into the Brighton game, because Brighton, of course, are a totally different beast to Southampton. They're one of the top half teams. They have an amazing record against us, both home and away. And I thought, if we play like that, we're going to get soundly beaten. But let's just take a look at the Southampton game overall. It was a dreadful performance, wasn't it? Rescued by a fantastic young player.
Oh yeah, it was atrocious. The first half, I can't be, no, can't lie. I struggled to stay awake in the first half. The first half was bad, and then second half, I actually thought they were the better team. Um, young Lenny Euro, a valuable lesson learned for the young man. He got absolutely cooked on that side. Sulemana, who was just running him ragged every single time, just ridiculous pace. And the thing is, Lenny Euro is not slow by any means. So yeah, for Sulemana to put the burners on, it was incredible that the scoreline stayed how it was. Um, yeah, overall, I thought the performance was very poor. Xerxes, give credit to him, came on and made a difference. And then yeah, we owe it all to Ahmad. Collier as well came on and did all right. Um, for me, the highlight was probably the ball over the top by Christian Eriksen to set up Diallo for his second. I thought that was just wonderful. But yeah, if it weren't for moments of magic by our shining light this season, yeah, it would have been another horrible result. And against, arguably one of the worst teams we've seen in Premier League history. I don't think any team has got this lower point total at this stage of the season before. So they are well on course to, beat Derby County's horrible record. Um, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, and somehow we were totally outplayed by them at Old Trafford, which would have been humiliating. Let's face it, if we'd
hmm
have lost that game. Um, but it was a one man show that rescued us, as you say. But obviously, he had a little bit of help from Ericsson. That assist was wonderful, as you touched
yeah.
upon. Um, and Xerxes had a good, substitute appearance in that game as well, and thought he helped turn the game around.
In that one, yeah, in that one, Kyle, I think he gave me Fellaini vibes. It was a throwback to when Jose would throw on Fellaini, the hold up play, and yeah, again, not great in front of goal, but yeah, he was at least involved and he made things happen.
Mhm. Yeah, and uh, Ahmad can't bail us out in every single game, unfortunately, and we know that. But another thing I picked up on in this Southampton game is that they essentially played three wingers across the
hmm
front up against our back three, and that just wreaked havoc. And it probably didn't help that Ahmad was at wing back in that game, which meant that Lenayaro was isolated down that side, didn't have the help of Mazarahi as he normally would, and yeah, they exploited all our weaknesses, but didn't manage to put us away. And apparently, this has been a common theme. I know Southampton fans will tell you. Simon Peach, who's a journalist who covers United, is a Southampton fan, and he predicted that this would happen, even
hmm
at 1-0, and Southampton had no chances because this season they have played well in many games, but have not been able to put teams away. So he wasn't one bit surprised that they capitulated at the end. Um, yeah, so thankfully we saved ourselves the embarrassment there, but we knew what was coming in the next game against Brighton because they're a better team than us, and the table doesn't lie, and we were thoroughly outplayed in the game. They scored very early on, which is always an ominous sign. We got back in level terms when they gifted us a penalty when that defender put his arm around Xerxes' neck, which was just absolute
He got him in a
stupidity.
kind of headlock. It was
Yeah,
stupid. Yeah.
so got it. We were reprieved briefly, and then they went. They appeared to go ahead again, but another goal conceded from a set piece, but that was eventually
Mhm.
ruled out because one of their attackers kicked Dallo in the foot and when Dallo got the ball. So
Yeah.
the referee was sent to the screen that was chalked off. We didn't heed the warning though, and they just kept coming at us, and the ball was in the back of the net again. A
Hmm.
routine cross that wasn't cut out by Dallo. There's a surprise. And
Yep.
then Mazarahi's beaten at the back post by Matoma, which is pretty poor defending. And I have to say, Onana should be coming to intervene with that cross.
And yeah, yeah, it's coming together in it. So yeah, there's a calamity of errors there. So the first one, absolutely, like you say, it should have been a warning sign. It was a lovely finish as well by João Pedro. Nice little turn. Um, so yeah, there was that. We were very fortunate that was ruled out, and it was a foul in the build up to that. So got lucky there. As for that second goal, yeah, calamity of errors. Dallo should be cutting it out, so that cross shouldn't be coming in. And then, why is Mazraoui the one there? And then obviously you can't really get to it, and Onana just looks on. So yeah, a whole bunch of stuff going on that shouldn't be happening. Mitoma should have been marked. He shouldn't be getting to that. So yeah,
And the
yeah.
third goal, Onana just gifts it to
That's
him.
just an Onana class, isn't it? It's Onana speciality. That. Absolutely going nowhere. It was more of a cross than anything. Just simply grab onto the bloody ball. He's just channeling his inner Massimo Taibbi there with that one.
Yeah, it was just dreadful and not acceptable at this level. And
No,
the decision to get rid of David De Gea and bring in Onana for that amount of money is getting worse with each passing month.
it's ridiculous, isn't it? And I think we've discussed it on here before. Like the fact that he costs so much will probably buy him some leeway, but that rope is getting thinner and thinner with every mistake he makes.
Yeah, and given Bayern Dier's performance against Arsenal in the FA Cup, the more Onana plays like this, the more fans are going to say give Bayern Dier a
And
chance.
I'll tell you what, I don't think Bayern is exceptional by any means. The fact that our number one and two goalkeepers are closer in ability than I would like, tells its own story, really. And let's be honest, despite his heroics against Arsenal, if Arsenal had a half decent striker up front and not Kai Havertz, we would be out of that competition as well.
Yeah, 100%. Although we were playing with 10 men. Now, something
Yeah.
that I have noticed, and it's abundantly clear now, is that United get better results away from home
Hmm.
because we play on the back foot. We are defensively organized and we're solid, and we're not conceding as many goals when we were set up that way.
Hmm.
Problem is when we play at home, we're expected to be on the front foot, and in that scenario, we leave gaps in behind, and other teams are exploiting it.
And do you know how ridiculous it is that we're so open with three at the back? Like it shouldn't be happening. Like I don't understand it. And also another thing as well we need to address that midfield balance is all off. I don't know about you, but this double pivot of Mainu and Ugarte for me doesn't work. There needs to be another one in there for balance.
Yeah, it's not working because he has substituted both of them in three different games now, two games in
Hmm.
a row that they've both been taken off at the same
Yeah,
time.
yeah, honestly, like I don't understand what we're gonna do. Without recruitment, like I say as well, we're not gonna see any significant improvements to any of this. The thing with this system as well, wing backs are so imperative, and we don't have them. We don't have competent wing backs, and you really need that for this to work in any which way, whichever way you look at it. And there's problems, in other areas as well, but that's the main thing. if that's the one area that I would like addressed in this window, uh, as urgently as possible.
Yeah, we'll get to that a little bit later.
Mm.
What Brighton have now beaten us 6 times in the last 7 games,
Ah, it's a disgusting result, isn't it? The record is just
and it's becoming embarrassing. I mean,
yeah.
the only Brighton win that we've had in recent times is it was essentially a dead rubber in the last game of last season.
Hmm.
Um, the fact that Dallow and Hoyland scored tells you it was a dead rubber because they wouldn't
Yeah.
score important. They don't score important goals.
And then, do you know
Score
what
any
I found
goals.
really interesting? I was watching the match analysis yesterday after the game with Owen Hargreaves and Jermaine Defoe, and Hargreaves said a lot of things that were true. He said up to about six of the Brighton players would get into United starting 11, and that's something that should never happen. But that's where we are.
Yeah, only 6.
You know. Also, I do have to mention as well. I thought the referee had an atrocious game. Um, Uh, Certainly, I'm not going to just focus on that too heavy because we were terrible as well. But yeah, the referee certainly didn't help out with some of his decision making.
Well, that's a common theme now as well,
Yeah, yeah.
because these referees are
Hmm.
absolutely atrocious. Um, I'm just laughing at some of the memes. Somebody here posted on X, "What have I done to deserve Dallo and Onana?" And it's and the video clip is of Walter White in Breaking Bad holding the gun to his chin. Yeah,
I think Onana's been one of the trending topics in the UK over yesterday and today. Whenever I've gone on the timeline, so yeah,
someone else
plenty of
says
memes.
someone else here says the D in Dallo stands for donkey.
Yeah. Mm.
Um, every attack Dallo has laid from the left wing has been completely shut down with ease. Someone else says, um, and he doesn't stop any crosses coming in at all. He stands 40 off and he
Nope.
doesn't make a challenge.
Hmm.
And yeah, it's just absolutely ridiculous. I don't understand how he continues to get away with it. And then the only reason I can think of is because it's
It's
just a lack of options.
lack of options is all it is. That's literally what I was gonna say. We just don't have the players. Um, so, and onto that, I'm sure we'll come onto it as well. Obviously, Anthony's gone out on loan now. Um, Immediately when I looked at it, I was like, there's no buy option or an obligation. So it's a little bit strange to send him out on loan, especially as we're short. And it only made sense to me if there's going to be an incoming. But we are linked to a few people now, so hopefully we do get somebody coming in before the deadline.
Yeah, as I say, we'll get to it. But
Hmm.
um, yeah, some of the analysis of Dallo was pretty damning from the supporters yesterday. Thankfully, most of the fan base are now exactly where we were about
Yep.
9 months ago talking
Yep.
about Dallo. Because remember last season we had to
Hmm.
listen to all this crap about how he's United's most improved player and he's
I mean, he
brilliant.
was based on the fact that he was, non-existent before that. But you can be one of the most improved and still not brilliant.
I still maintain that he just couldn't defend, even at his very the so-called best that he was at last season. He still couldn't
Yeah.
defend
No.
and giving
No.
away
It's.
penalties, not cutting out crosses,
Hmm.
and he really isn't. I think the best game he's had going forward is against Liverpool, but that was because he was playing against Trent, who can make anyone look decent.
And yeah, they look better when Connor Bradley came on because he's more
Yeah.
defensively astute.
So Dallo as a wing back or a full back is just not good enough,
Nope.
and needs to be replaced urgently. Um, yeah, Ruben Amorim is not going to change this system to try and get results.
No, he isn't.
He's absolutely adamant that he's going to stick with this,
Hmm.
and this is why it probably would have been better if he came in before a summer transfer window
Hmm.
rather than coming in mid-season, because as he puts it, we're going to suffer a lot, and we are, because he's even acknowledged that his record is now worse than the previous manager's record
Hmm.
because we've won 2 of the last 10 Premier League games. Our home record is absolutely abysmal. It must be the worst in United's history, the home record. Um, and the manager now has said maybe we are the worst Man United team in the history of football.
Yep,
Um,
yep. He said, "Yep, there's your headline."
yeah. What would you make of that if you were a player in the dressing room? The manager saying that about you, it's an extraordinary statement.
I mean, listen, it's obviously a tactic to give him a kick up the backside, but it can go one of two ways. It can either fire you up, or their heads can drop further. But then if it's a case of heads dropping further, then it kind of earmarks the people that you need to replace anyway. So it is what it is.
Is it also aimed at the board? Because he probably would love to have some players in January if possible.
Yeah, I mean, listen, we go back to it. He said initially, didn't he, that he would have liked to have stayed at Sport until the end of the season, but they chose to bring him in now. So now it's really up to them to back him. Um, I think they do want to back him, but obviously, having spent what we did in the summer and then completely tearing everything up, they kind of shot themselves in the foot, didn't they? So we're in a position now where we have to sell before we can buy. And if you look at the pattern of what they're doing, they're gutting everything down. The cost cutting has been from top to bottom. And the highest earners are the ones that they're trying to ship out. So Anthony's gone out now. Rashford, they're trying to push out through the door. Um, so by summer, at least, I expect both of them and Casemiro possibly to move on. Casemiro is not really in the team much anyway, and it doesn't justify the wages he's on. So the remaining high earners are going to be what Bruno and Mason Mount, and the jury's out on Mason Mount because again, on paper, he fits this manager and what he wants to do, but the greatest ability is availability, as they say, and he currently is not justifying the wages he's on. So that's another one that they're going to have to look at in the summer.
But in January, it seems as if they're trying to move some people on to make a bit of
Mm-hmm.
room to bring somebody in.
Yep.
So Anthony, as you say, has been loaned out. I'm not surprised by the structure of the deal because nobody's going to sign up to
No.
an agreement where they're obligated to buy him in the summer. He's on extraordinary wages, so real
Yeah.
out of Real Betis's league.
200 grand a week he's on. And yeah, I looked at the wage structure at Real Betis. Betis's highest paid player is Isco, formerly of Real Madrid, and he's on about 120,000 euros a week. So that works out in pounds, probably what, around 100. So I hear we are partially covering his. It says partially. We'll see how much exactly. I wouldn't be surprised if we're paying at least half, if not a bit more.
Yeah, I hope that we're paying half or less, but
Mm,
because we need to free up some space. And Rashford, we're probably looking at loaning him out as well, probably to
yep.
a Serie A team.
Oh,
And
also the latest is Dortmund. Dortmund interested um, via
mhm,
Fabrizio Romano today. Also, interestingly, they're linked to Eric Ten Hag as well. Their current manager Nuri Sahin is under a bit of pressure, so that's one to watch out for. Be interesting.
no comment, because what we are noticing with these passing game is the damage that man has done. Because the
Mm.
recruitment under Ten Hag is absolutely abysmal. These players are nowhere near good enough to play for Man United. All these
Yeah, but it's a team
Eredivisie.
effort, isn't it? Like that leads to this. So I, you could, yeah, we could question the actual talent ID and all of that, but in terms of the fees, the eye-watering fees is what I really have an issue with, and that part, I give him a bit of leeway because that's not down to him, is it? Um, and we just had absolute clowns doing the deals, like Anthony, for example. He was on 20 grand a week at Ajax. How the hell do you go from 20 grand a week to being offered 200? It makes no sense.
Yeah, it's Ten Hag's mistake to bring Anthony to the club,
Mm,
but because of the money they spent on him and the wages they gave
hmm.
him upstairs, that means we're really struggling to get rid of him now.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah. And that's probably why the current deal is structured the way it is, because I think it's an attempt to put him on the shop window. So we have to hope that he goes there and regains some kind of form and
but
goes on a little run, so that other clubs will take a look and think, oh, you know what, there might be a player there.
yeah, it's in our best interest that he scores a few goals while at Betis.
Yeah, yeah. If he can just hold down like just regular first team football would be a big thing for him. To be honest, I hope it goes better than Martial to Sevilla. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah, because we were in saddled with Martial to the end of his contract because it didn't work out.
Yeah,
But looking at Ten Hag again, the Onana De Gea thing is just getting worse by the week, as I say.
yeah,
That was purely his decision because he worked
yeah,
with Onana before at Ajax,
hmm
and De Gea, probably one of the best shot stoppers in world
hmm
football, deemed him not good enough. He wanted to bring in a goalkeeper who's good with his feet. Well, I'm sorry,
hmm
I haven't seen one bit of that from Onana.
yeah.
Have you?
No, not particularly. We were told about the distribution and stuff as well. Like even the things that people are hyping about it, we've not really seen. Um, and for all the glimpses of good performances we have seen, a mistake is never too far away with this guy. And yeah, unfortunately, it's a part of his game. It's not something he can fix. It is what it is. So it's just up to the club now how long they persist with this nonsense before they again take another loss, move on.
Yeah. Uh, I think we need to change the goalkeeper in the summer, but
Mm.
whether we have the available
The
funds
funds,
to do that
yeah.
is a different matter. But I'm starting to get the impression that because of the PSR rules, something which I'm not sure I even agree with, to be honest, but
Mm.
they're there at the moment. Because of those rules, United are going to have to sell aggressively to buy,
Yeah.
it seems. So this squad might well be gutted in 2025, and we might have a
Mm.
different look to it on the 1st of September. This might be the biggest, the quickest overhaul you might have seen in your
Mm.
lifetime at Man United. Normally, even the 2014 window under Van Gaal, there was a lot of upheaval at United in the dressing room. A lot of changes. A lot of people went. A lot of people came in. This could be even bigger than that.
Yeah.
And don't be surprised if some big names are sold for good money. And also, I'm starting to get the impression that if Napoli meet our valuation,
Mm.
Garnacho is gone in this window.
Hmm. Hmm.
What
Yeah,
do you
I
think?
can sense that. For me, I'm not in favor of selling him at the moment. I'm not in favor of uh, academy graduates being sold off in. I wouldn't like to see him and Rashford leave at the same time. I personally would hold on to him, but then again, if the price and the valuation is met, then you need to do what's right for the team if it benefits us overall. So I certainly wouldn't sell him on the cheap. If it's a very, very good offer that you can't really turn down, then yes, I would consider it.
Yeah, one thing we can't do is have a weaker squad at the end of January than we did at the
Hmm.
start of January.
Yeah. And also, despite any criticisms or anything coming Garnacho's ways, uh, look at his contributions this season. We would certainly struggle the second half of the season without him.
Yeah, because even if he doesn't start games, you're denying yourself that winger on the bench to come on and change the game. And he
Hmm.
has provided assists in recent games. The Arsenal match stands out. I think there was an assist for the goal at Anfield for Amad Diallo as well. So um, yeah, so even if he doesn't start, he comes off the bench and often has an impact. So
Yeah.
know, even in previous seasons, we've seen him come off the bench and change the game for United. So
Hmm.
these things are important, and you need to have options like that.
And he's really he's only 20 years old, and I know we talk about attitude and the things that are missing from his game and whatnot, but he's young. Um, Now, can he fix those things? I don't know. Maybe the ceiling is not as high as some previously predicted, but still, he's one of ours. And yeah, I don't know, man. I think you lose a bit of something if you just start getting rid of all the academy graduates and that. So talk of Mainu and Garnacho. leaving. It doesn't really sit right with me, if I'm being honest.
Unless you've got big plans to bring players
Well,
in.
yeah, yeah, unless yeah, but then that's one of those risky things, isn't it? Suppose you're gonna have to pull the trigger, and until you do, you're not really gonna know. Um,
Right.
yeah, because I hear there's Chelsea interest as well. So I mean, if he's
No, no,
if it's to a division rival, then I'd want even more. Um, yeah, yeah,
no, we cannot do that.
yeah.
Absolutely not. It's one thing to give them Sancho, who is
Hmm.
surplus to requirements, but we cannot be selling them Garnacho. He has to go abroad, in my opinion, if we are to sell him.
Yeah.
I would prefer to leave it to the summer, but
Hmm.
United, they need to sell to buy, so they might do that deal
Yeah.
in the
But again, I just hope we don't let
winter.
him go on the cheap because, like I say, he is very
No.
young and he is somebody who's contributed. And despite all the criticisms, you can't take away what he has provided this season. Without him, we would be even worse off than we are.
Yeah, but United have made it clear that everybody's for sale, even Kobe Manu adds price too, which some
Mm.
fans are absolutely up in arms about that statement.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. It is kind of ridiculous, isn't it? But at the same time, when you look at this double pivot, it's not working. We have to be honest with ourselves. But then, it's a thing where if I was in charge and I'd be telling Ruben, listen, this is the future of the club here. We have to work with the young talents that we have, especially the homegrown ones. So you need to find a way to, get the best out of them. These are pieces to build around, not sell off.
yeah, yeah, I wouldn't be in favor of getting rid of Kobe Manu. He,
No,
out of all the academy graduates, he would be the
yeah,
one I'd want to keep the most.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. Our brightest spark from the academy in a long time.
Uh, but one player that we have been linked with today, now finally we've been linked. We've had a solid link in the January window to a
Hmm.
player. United are apparently entered into negotiations for the Lecce left back, stroke left wing back Patrick
Hmm.
Dorku, who's a Danish international. So I was looking at his stats. He's 20 years old. He
Hmm.
has 3 goals and an assist for Lecce this season. He also made his debut for Denmark in September, and he scored in his debut against Switzerland, and he has 4 caps to date. Um, he was linked with Spurs and Chelsea last summer, but Lecce were looking 40 million euros, which those clubs were not willing to pay at that time. But United are pretty close to making their opening offer for him. So,
Hmm.
what's your thoughts on that, Brush?
I think the fee they want is excessive for a fairly unproven young player. We have been linked to him. He's been in the papers for the past month or so. So I did keep an eye out at the time when I first heard rumors of this, and I tried to catch a game. But in the game that I saw, he was on the right wing. So and it was yeah, it was a nothing special kind of performance, but yeah, looking at all the stats and things that we have available these days, it seems he's quite versatile as well, and I suppose he'd be a utility man who can cover several positions. So yeah, I've not seen him as a wing back, so I couldn't tell you much more.
You see, the problem with the number one targets, which of course
Mm.
are Nuno Mendes
Hmm.
and the Bournemouth left back,
Kerkez,
the Hungarian fella who scored
yeah,
against
yeah,
Newcastle at the weekend.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Those two are even more expensive,
Even more
and
expensive, yeah, yeah. And I hear Liverpool are in for Kerkez as well. And obviously, the one thing I will say about Kerkez, though, obviously you've seen what he can offer in the Premier League,
yeah,
so I
yeah,
think that adds to it as well. And obviously, the money in the league, so you have to pay top dollar, don't you? Him, I quite like Out Nuri as well at Wolves, and again, that might be one to keep an eye on to see if they get relegated. That might force their hand in a sale or lower the price somewhat.
but I think given how bad we've been
Hmm.
in the last 2 months, we need to make signings right now if we and
Yeah.
um. So this seems like a deal that can be done in January, but
Yeah,
we've no idea how good this guy is, and as you say, he's versatile. It is a
yeah.
bit strange because he's down as a left back and left wing
Hmm.
back, but then somebody posted this like video of him, the highlights video that you
Hmm.
get every time there's a new player that's
Yeah.
been being mentioned, and he's playing on the right in every single part of the video.
Yeah, the one match I checked him out, he played on the wing and on the right hand side. So yeah, like I say, I can't really, yeah, I don't know whether to make heads or tails of it, uh,
Oh,
of
he
how he operates as a wing back. The only thing I do know is that Ruben does have a habit of using wingers in the wing back position.
he definitely played left back yesterday.
Hmm.
I seen that. So, mm, I just hope he's not another Malasia. That's all I can say.
Yeah.
I'm hoping he's going to be a lot better than that.
Yeah, to be
Um,
honest, this is one of those signings for me. Like, if we get him, I don't think we're going to rest on our laurels. I think in the summer you need to bring in another one. This will probably mean that we can afford to get Terrell Malacia go, and then bring in somebody else. I don't think this is the end product or first teamer that we're looking for. If I'm being honest.
um, yeah, because we need other options at the moment. That's for
Yeah,
sure. But it would be nice to get Kirkes in the summer if we could,
yeah,
or get him now. If we got the Garnacho money right now, would you
yeah.
go in and give Bournemouth what they want for Kirkes?
Yeah, especially because you hear of the interest of Liverpool as well. It would be nice to beat them to the punch,
Mm,
and also because of his age as well, and you see what he's doing now. That's potentially a signing. If you make it for the next decade, we're sorted, right? On paper.
yeah, and really fits the system as well, which is very
Yeah,
important.
exactly. So yeah, it's one of those. So I don't mind sometimes overpaying slightly if it's the right profile of player, if the age and potential and wages and all the other things are in line. So Kirkes might be one that I pull the trigger on. And like I say, already used to the Premier League as well. I know that's it's not a metric that's that important, but it does play a role sometimes. You want players to come in and just take to it, you know.
Yeah, I seen somebody make a comment earlier on social media, and I agree with them
Mm.
100%. Is that United signed far too many players that are at the start of their career or at the end of their career. We need to be getting ready-made stars.
Yeah. Yeah,
That,
there
that
needs to be a balance.
there needs to be We need to sign more players that can come into the team right away and
Yeah.
make a difference.
Mhm.
Not
Mhm.
We're always signing someone who's developing or someone
Yeah.
who's finished. You know.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing. Like with this guy from Lecce, I reckon he's very much a project player. Like I wouldn't be
Mm,
expecting anything from him if he if he were to come in.
yeah. There's one thing I cannot stand is if he becomes another Malasia. I can't take
Yeah.
that. I just
Yeah.
can't.
Mhm.
I don't care how cheap he is. I just can't accept that. We need to
Mhm.
be signing really good players that are going to get us up that league.
Yeah.
Because look where we are. It's absolutely disgraceful. And
Mhm.
bringing in another project is not going to get us to where we want to be. Um,
Yeah.
you know, Ruben Amorim will get time, but as he said, he's not naive. He needs to get results. Uh, you know, you know, he can't keep losing games from now to the end of the season. We need to get points on the board. We need to secure our future in the Premier League, and obviously focus on the cup competitions that we're in. But especially the Europa League because of the reward at the end of it for winning it. If it gets back into the Champions League, yeah, I think it's urgent that we need to make quality signings in this window, even if it's just one or two.
Mhm.
Um, Preferably, it would be a wing back and a striker. But let's see. I think, as far as the summer is concerned, we need to sign someone in every single position. To be honest.
Yeah. Yeah. And the thing is, though, I don't buy this where everyone has to be an expensive signing. I think there's value out there in the market if you properly do your due diligence and look
Yeah,
around.
we
Um,
what I've forgotten about is we're also actually bringing in Diego Leon for the summer too from Paraguay.
yeah, yeah,
Almost forgot about that.
yeah. And again, a very, very young kid as well, isn't he? So yeah, we'll have to wait and see what he's about. But yeah, he looks very physical and stuff. So that bodes well for him.
So if we were to sign Patrick Dorku with Diego, what do you call me, Diego Leon? He's
Yeah.
coming in the summer. Well,
But then,
it'd be hard to see us signing a third player then for that position.
but
I
the
don't know.
thing is, though, you've got one who's 20, the other who's 18.
I know, but this is what I'm saying. We're signing
Yeah,
far too many players who are project players who are just
yeah.
developing. I mean, the signings of Hoyland and Xerxes have been a disaster, really, so far.
Hmm.
We should have really spent that combined money on Harry Kane.
Yeah,
Uh,
honestly, that. But again, I think he made the right decision for his career. If I'm being totally honest, like that's his goals alone wouldn't really have helped us either. Uh, yeah,
yeah, we wouldn't be 13th, but we wouldn't be top either. That's for sure.
no, exactly, and he'll be wasting his career in precious last couple of years. Like they're top of the league now at the moment, so you'd expect them this season to go and win
Mm,
it.
Let's see. Oh, will the Tottenham curse strike again?
Yeah, yeah, they're only 4 points clear of Leverkusen, but yeah, it seems to be between them two this season.
So I want to get a couple of comments here. One from Ryan, and I don't know if he's taking the piss or not, but he says, "Where the hell is Juan Mata? We have been crying for him to play to create, and he hasn't been seen in over a year."
What I wouldn't do for some of the tens we've had over the years right now, one matter would be top of that list for me. In his prime when we had him, we misused him, stuck him out on the right hand side. Yeah, today I wish we had him. Wish we had him. I wish we had a Shinji Kagawa. Could have used him. Even a Mkhitaryan would have come in handy.
Yeah, with Mason Mount never being available, and
Hmm.
we're playing. Usually, we're playing Bruno and Armad in those positions, which is fine, but
Yeah.
we'd like to have more options. Um, yeah, and some players, as you mentioned, there would be very suited to playing
Hmm.
in those roles in this system. Um, but yeah, Juan Mata is currently playing in the A League in Australia. Um, I haven't been following the game, so I don't know how well he's doing. But I believe the Man United supporters over there, one in which they've had on the show on a regular basis, Tom Simpson, who loves Juan Mata and cannot believe that he's playing football now in his backyard, and he's met him a few times. So,
Ah, it's
uh,
fantastic. He's a lovely bloke as well, isn't he?
yeah, absolutely. And so many of the Australian United fans are just living
Yeah,
in dreamland right now,
yeah.
having Juan Mata playing out
Nah,
there.
he's absolutely one that I would love to have back one day as an ambassador.
Yeah, it seems like a no-brainer, doesn't it? And
Yeah.
I think he said he wanted to do that, didn't he,
Hmm.
before? Has he not actually worked as an ambassador already for United? I'm pretty sure he has. I think he was promoting the US tour last year, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm.
Anyway, so Lenny here in the comments says, "I think Anthony might be the worst signing in the history of Man United. Awful player. Um, Beans is awful too.
The fact that he's got competition for that position is what really sickens me, Lenny. We could probably compile a top five of United's worst signings.
Yeah, we could. So Anthony definitely would be up there, and he might be number one because of the money that was paid for him, the wages that were given to him, and
Hmm.
the value we've got. He has 10 yellow cards in his Man United career, and he has 8 goals. So that's
Yeah.
absolutely ridiculous. And what about that miss against Southampton? By the way,
Oh, geez. Yeah. Yeah.
it was absolutely put on a plate for him by
Mm.
Garnacho, I think it was. And rather than just standing up and topping it in, he goes to ground, he slides, and he makes uh, a really bad contact with the ball, and it just
Yeah.
goes
And he
slices
just
straight into the hands of
and
Ramsdale.
yeah, and he directs it straight at the keeper. Oh,
Open goal, and he
yeah.
slices it into the
Yeah.
direction of
But
Ramsdale's man.
that aside, though, I do think he made a difference in that game. I think he allowed Diallo to get forward and do what he does.
I do know what I've noticed in a few games under Amorim,
Mm.
where when Anthony and Ahmad are playing, both playing on that side.
Yeah.
Anthony's essentially a decoy, isn't he, for
Yeah,
Ahmad?
yeah. Yeah, basically. It gives him the license to just go attack.
I don't know why players are tracking Anthony though, because he's not going
Hmm.
to do anything. But anyway,
Yeah.
there you go.
And
Um,
he's very one-footed as well, so it's very easy
defend
to
against,
mark
yeah.
him. Yeah, yeah. And he's not Robben by any means, so
No. Um, so who would be other candidates, by the way, while we're on that subject, for worst signing in Man United's history?
Oof,
Um,
oof. There's so many. Paul Pogba's up there. Maguire was up there until the last year and a half. Um, who else? Alexis Sanchez. I know
Yeah,
on paper he's a free, but that's one of the worst declines of a footballer I've ever seen. I was actually quite excited about him coming in, especially under Mourinho, who we know likes the finished article in players. And, we didn't see a half or a third of the player that was at Arsenal or even Barcelona that turned up at United.
and obviously Di Maria, Schweinsteiger,
Yeah, yeah. Well, I feel harsh. I feel the Basti one is harsh. I thought he had a lot to offer, but then Mourinho came in and just ousted him. And we didn't pay a lot for him either. So yeah, I've got a soft spot for Basti.
but nothing to do with anything he did in United, sure though.
I mean, listen. His final performance, right? Even when he thought when he knew he was going against Wigan, I think it was in the League Cup. Yeah, put in a masterful performance,
Aye.
consummate professional. And despite only being here for a season and a half, even the way he talks about United now, even on the timeline, he's always there cheering us on, and I appreciate that.
Yeah, yeah, I noticed that.
I've got a
Um,
lot of time for Basti.
but if we're being objective, it didn't work out as a signing. There's so many bad ones, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But obviously, yeah, you're right to mention that we didn't pay that much money for him. But yeah, you know, whenever whenever I was thinking of other candidates for the
Mm,
worst signing ever, I was going back to 20, 30 years ago, whereas I've
mm.
forgotten just how many there've been in the post-Ferguson era that have
Yeah, yeah,
flopped. You
yeah,
you mentioned so many of them there, and they're
yeah.
just
So there's
awful
another
signings.
one as well. I know he gets mentioned a lot, but personally for me, I didn't think he was a flop. But it's a bit of a contentious one. One Sebastian Veron. I know he famously makes a lot of lists, and it was unfortunate. But honestly, it's played out how people make it seem as if he was just terrible. Obviously, he didn't suit the Premier League and the way we played more than anything. But in Europe, he was an absolute delight. And even in the league, he did have his moments.
Yeah, if you actually watch like a highlight reel of
Yeah,
Varane at United, you wouldn't
yeah,
believe that he was considered a flop.
yeah, yeah. Honestly, yeah. And then even when he's spoken about it before as well, he just said, yeah, in retrospect, I think I threw in the towel too soon. I think both the club and himself, they both just, you know,
Yeah, he
mm,
went for Chelsea for half the money that we bought him for after two
yeah,
seasons.
yeah.
But
And then he didn't work out at Chelsea either, and then rebuilt his career back in Italy again, where he felt most comfortable.
yeah, I remember him scoring free kicks. I remember
Hmm.
him scoring in the 5-3 comeback against Tottenham.
Yeah,
There
yeah.
was,
There was a masterful performance against Everton. In Europe, there were some stellar performances. The one against Juventus really stands out.
yeah, but that a game against Juventus is like him playing Serie A again, isn't it? So you'd
Yeah,
expect it.
again, yeah, yeah. In Europe, you got more time and space, don't you? So that's where he really thrived.
No, so I wouldn't consider him to be among
No,
the top five flop.
yeah, I wouldn't. I wouldn't personally. Memphis Depay, I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
that came with a lot of hype and that fell flat. Um, Radamel Falcao, that was one that initially I was like, oh, this is exciting because he's been one of the top strikers in Europe the previous couple of
S-
years, and then we didn't see
So
any of that.
so often the big names fail at United.
Yeah,
The
yeah,
best signings always turn out to people that you've never heard of.
uh huh,
If Solskjaer being the obvious example of that.
yeah,
Yeah, I can how many big names have actually performed when they arrived?
hmm.
Um, there's not many, but another obviously candidate for worst signing is probably Bebe.
Oh,
Uh,
jeez, Gabriel Obertan, Bebe, Jesus, uh,
Jemba Jemba, Kleberson,
yeah, 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 that whole era.
Bellion. But obviously older fans will go back to signings from the 70s and 80s as well. Of
Hmm.
course, that didn't work out. Many of them. Um, because obviously there's a reason for the decline. You
Yeah.
know, after the '68 European Cup win, we didn't win the league again to 1993. So obviously there's got to be a lot of bad signings in
Hmm.
there, and I know that there was, but I can't comment on people I never seen play, but
Yeah.
yeah, they were. Karl Poborski, was he a poor signing? Would you say?
He's definitely one that failed to live up to expectations because it was just on the back of the Euro '96 hype, wasn't it? And
Yeah,
honestly, in retrospect, it really should have been Pavel Nedved.
yeah, absolutely. I think you said that before. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, how different
Um,
it would have been. And then obviously the emergence of Beckham, so we forget the rest.
and another Jordy Cruyff has to get a mention there too.
Oh,
Yeah,
jeez, poor guy. I felt sorry for him. Obviously, weight of that name is probably why he just used to go by Geordie.
yeah, it was just too much to live up to, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Um, you people might say Haaland is a second generation footballer, and
Mm,
I
hmm.
think what do you call him, Clivert for Bournemouth. He's a third generation
Yeah,
footballer,
yeah,
but
yeah,
they're not trying to live up to one of the all
no,
time great footballers ever. In Johan Cruyff,
definitely.
that's
I
impossible.
mean, even for Justin, that's hefty boots to fill because his dad was a bad boy striker in his day, in his prime.
Yeah, and the grandfather was also a
Yeah,
international footballer.
yeah,
Yeah, and he's having quite a season.
yeah. He seems to have
Clivert.
found his feet now because he moved around a lot as well. And I think initially there was a lot of hype and stuff around him, partially due to that surname that he carries. But now he's found his level, and yeah, he's playing really well in a very organized team with a good coach. And yeah, he's not the only one. Semenyo looks a player as well, doesn't he?
Yeah, they're a really good team. They blew Newcastle away on Saturday
Yeah,
lunchtime.
yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah. Surprising.
and
And then yeah, even their centre backs, I quite like their centre backs. Dean Howson, he's only like 19 years old. He's 6'5". He's got very good feet. He's not going to be there long.
the worrying thing is that we've still got to play Bournemouth this season.
Yeah, 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 yeah. The worrying
Away.
thing, the worrying thing is now when I look at the fixture, I'm not confident about any flipping fixture.
No, I mean, if we're going to get outplayed by Southampton at Old Trafford, what chance do we have?
Yeah, honestly, yeah. That Suleimana guy gave me nightmares. Jeez. I'm sure Lenny hasn't slept as well.
Yeah, there's me thinking that Linear was lightning quick. He couldn't get near
Hmm.
your man.
No, he couldn't.
Um, yeah, yeah. So many names in the frame for the worst signing ever. So it's purely
Yeah.
subjective, and yeah, Anthony's definitely up there given the pick.
Oh, do you know what? I've got a very controversial one, and a lot of fans will disagree with me on this one. So I'm going to go out on a limb and say it. For me, definitely not the worst ever. Like, obviously, that's harsh. But in terms of bad signings, I think Dimitar Berbatov was a bad signing for United.
Yeah, he's definitely not the worst because of the
No, no, he's
things
definitely
that.
not the worst. Definitely not. But I just think it's a bad signing because of the fact that when he came in, he was a club record signing. And when you really break down what he offered in the 4 years that he was here at the club, I just don't think it was value for money.
No, and they eventually got rid of him on the cheap to bring in Van Persie, of course,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
that won us the league. We wouldn't have won the league with Berbatov that season instead of Van Persie.
Hell
Let's
no.
be honest.
Hell no. He hit 20 goals just one of the 4 seasons he was here. And even
Yeah,
then, stat padding is a weird term that people use, but honestly, about 8 of those goals came in like 2 or 3 games that season. Uh,
yeah. The five against Blackburn and the hat trick
yeah, yeah,
against Liverpool.
yeah, yeah. So I'd rather a striker that gives me 20 goals in 20 games, because stats can be
I
deceiving in that way.
d- Hmm.
And then I think what really pissed me off as well, like, if you're a record signing and you can't beat an over the hill Michael Owen to the bench in a Champions League final, that's telling.
Yeah, but again, that was just yeah, uh, the manager's decision. It doesn't mean that he was not worthy of a place on the bench. I think we all know that the manager and Michael Owen had a close relationship. So
Mm.
I,
For
I,
me, it's still a
well,
concerning sign. I can't think of anyone who's
let's
a
put it.
club record signing who, wouldn't even make the bench a couple
It
years after signing.
it wouldn't have been a decision that I would have made.
Yeah.
I know, but
To be perfectly honest, within 4 years, like I would, 3 years after signing for a club record fee, I'd be hoping that it's a player that starts a Champions League final.
so he's not in the conversation for worst signing ever.
No, no, it's not, not,
He's not,
not, not for the worst ever. No, the
because
ones that we mentioned
any player that gets a hat trick
against
against
Liverpool.
Liverpool, scores five in a game,
Mm,
is the joint top scorer in the league while at the club. You could never say he's like among the worst signings. Given some of the shite that we've watched in the last
no,
11 years.
absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, it just bugs me because obviously I just don't think it was value for money because it was a lot at the time.
Yeah, and basically forced Tevez out of the club as well at
Yeah,
that
that as
time.
well.
Um, yeah, so we've got a bit sidetracked,
Hmm.
but you did remind me that about the hat tricks thing.
Yeah.
That's one thing I forgot to mention. So Wayne Rooney has 8 hat tricks in his United career, which seems like
Mm,
a lot. I think the likes of Danis Violet, he has more, and so does um, another legend. But um, Denis Law has 18 hat tricks. That's 18 hat tricks at Manchester United. That's an extraordinary
we
number.
can only dream of such things now.
Yeah, yeah, unbelievable. Ahmad Diallo's hat trick against Southampton, by the way, is the first United hat trick in nearly 3 years
Yeah, yeah, since
since
Ronnie.
scored a hat trick against Norwich in
Yeah.
April 22. So they've definitely dried up in recent years, which isn't a surprise
Mm,
because we're not scoring many goals especially since Ten Hag became manager, really struggling to score goals. And if we're not keeping clean sheets, then we're going to lose games. Um, yeah, it's not been a great period. I know we won the League Cup and the FA Cup recently, but if you take those out of the equation, it really has been a dreadful few years. And then obviously before that, the Ranić season where Solskjaer was sacked, that
mm,
was appalling as well. And
mm,
yeah, so we've had those two nights where we won silverware, but those have really masked some dreadful years of this club. And we now have the manager saying this is one of the worst teams in the club's history, which is like it's you'd expect to hear that from a pundit, a former player, a fan, but for the current manager to say that is
mm.
extraordinary.
Yeah, I mean, but he's being very honest though, isn't he? I mean, it's what everyone's thinking. So yeah.
But
Like
I
sometimes I feel like people are in denial, right? So yeah, I understand. Like, yeah, you got to protect your players and deflect and whatnot, but sometimes it just comes across disingenuous. Um, and then the pundits will be saying, "Well, what's he talking about? Like, surely he can see what's going on." He's just very honest.
yeah, but obviously a manager's only ever going to say something like that at the start of his career when he hasn't
Mhm.
signed any of the players.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Obviously, listen, if he's into his third season, we're 500-600 million down, and he's doing this, then it's not gonna fly.
So I love this comment from somebody I read earlier. He says, "What I love about Amarim is that he hates these players as much as I do," and that
uh,
is the general feeling among the fans at the
yeah,
moment because
yeah, yeah,
all these fans just detest these
yeah,
players.
yeah. Honestly, until he puts his rubber stamp on it, until a summer transfer window, I don't really see anything changing. To be honest, we're just gonna have to eat up these losses. And yeah, it's just a hope and a prayer, really.
Yeah, we're hoping that we can just win the Europa League and stay up, and
Hmm.
we'll take that and move on.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, and the games are coming thick and fast. I just don't know when the next 3 points are coming from. We've got Fulham in the league, followed by Crystal Palace. Um, yeah.
I tell you, as I said, um, we can be very organised when we want to be when we play away from home,
Hmm.
but we struggle when we play more expansive football at home because we
Yeah.
leave so many gaps. So I expect the points to actually come in away games.
Mm,
That Fulham game might be
Fulham.
somewhere where we get something,
Yeah.
whereas
And just to point out as well, both of these teams are ahead of us in the table.
yeah, and Tottenham away, I could
Hmm.
see that being a game where we get something as well.
Yeah,
But even a home game against Palace or Ipswich, which are coming, those are potential banana skins
yeah, yeah,
because we just cannot play on the back foot at Old Trafford. It's a kind of
yeah.
it's an like, unwritten rule,
Hmm.
unfortunately. But I
But
would,
those ones are must win games. That week we've got Everton followed by Ipswich. Both of those you have to win. You'd say.
yeah, yeah, because they're below us in the table.
Yeah, yeah,
If we could win those games, then
yeah,
we'd create enough distance between
yeah. A
ourselves.
bit of a gap because otherwise this nonsense is going to continue.
And we better beat Palace at home because I'm going to
Yeah.
that game.
Hopefully that is the good luck charm that we need because Palace are undefeated in their last five. They've won three and lost and drawn two, so
Oh,
they're on the rise.
just on time before their
Just on
visit.
time. They're just getting into form.
You're worrying me now with that.
And we've not had the best of it against Palace in recent years either. So
No, we've got you know normally teams in the league have their bogey side. We have a few.
yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, almost every side is a bogey side now, isn't it? Yeah, because I was just looking at the fixtures now. So even the week that follows, Everton and Ipswich, we've then got Arsenal.
Again.
Yeah.
But that's okay. I'd rather play the big games because that's where we play
Mm.
our best football.
Well, yeah, they actually seem to turn up, don't they?
Mm.
So, yeah. I thought that was quite interesting as well by Amarim because he said really before Southampton, he said this is the real test, not the last two games.
And I know we got the points in the Southampton game, but we failed
Yeah.
that test. We were
But we did. We really did. We got bailed out. Um, but it could have been very different, just as easily. Yeah, yeah. And he was right. He was right to be concerned. It's about getting motivated for these, quote unquote lesser games.
yeah. So I've just been researching the Manchester United hat tricks list,
Mm,
just to brush up on my knowledge. So yes, as I said, Denis Law is top with 18.
yeah.
Then Jack Rowley with 12, and Dennis Violet with 9. Then Rooney with 8, and then Bobby Charlton with 7 hat tricks. So that is the
There
list
we
from,
go.
obviously,
Yeah.
they come from. I think the likes of Jack Rowley and Dennis Violet come from even a pre Dennis Law era.
Hmm.
You're talking 1930s and 40s,
Hmm.
which I'm not sure, not many people alive today will remember those players,
Yeah.
but they're obviously still a big part of the history. They always come up when you look at the all-time goal scorers.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, so some pretty big names in there as you would expect, and yeah, it's been an emotional weekend for Manchester United fans. There were some fans were weeping in the crowd, during the commemoration at the start.
Hmm.
Um, Nice to see the banner on the Stratford end, for the king of the Stratford end, of course. Um, it's Yeah, and the players just did not deliver. Another thing, I thought they might have delayed this for a week in the circumstances, but Luke Littler came on to show off his Sid Waddell trophy to the crowd. I thought
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
might delay that to the Palace game maybe because of
Hmm.
the passing of Denis Law, but they went ahead with it anyway. I'm sure he was not impressed with what he saw.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. I thought that was a bit strange as well. It surely could have waited. No.
yeah, they went ahead with it. I gotta say, Jim Radcliffe is quite a scud, isn't he? Anytime he shows up, United are terrible,
Mm,
and he doesn't seem to be around for any of the wins. Um,
mm,
in general anyway. But some of his decisions are being quite controversial too, and I noticed a lot of talk on social media yesterday about fans being harassed by stewards yesterday, with stewards carrying cameras in their hands, telling people to sit down in the Stratford end, not allowing fans to stand on the steps during the game, and people being kicked out and banned. Another story I heard was that uh, a pensioner who's been a season ticket holder for 40 years, who now has dementia, he has a paper ticket because he doesn't own a mobile phone.
mm.
The QR code on his ticket has not been working all season, but the stewards just let him in anyway. But
Mm,
because his QR code has not been scanned for 5 home games in a row,
mm.
his ticket was automatically cancelled,
Ah, jeez.
and his ticket was then sold in a ballot to another fan. So
Wow.
he was not able to get in yesterday, which was an absolute disgrace.
Yeah.
This is how the club now treats fans under Jim Radcliffe's stewardship.
Yeah,
And
yeah. I mean, listen, it's a business, isn't it? Uh, all we are is numbers to them.
I'm starting to get the impression that they want to ban as many season ticket holders as possible,
Hmm.
because this is just my theory, and it's a lot of fans' theory, that season tickets are not that lucrative to the club,
Nope.
but selling 19 individual tickets are.
Yep.
And
Definitely.
so
Yeah,
I'm th-
you're gonna see. Yeah, you're gonna see less and less of those. I think it's more orientated towards people that just turn up once in a while opposed to weekly
yeah,
and
I'm
spend more.
absolutely, you've hit the nail on the head there.
Yeah.
They want the kind of the touristy day tripper fans to come
Yeah,
out.
yeah. Basically, that come for the experience. That's going to go to the mega store. Who's going to treat themselves to the VIP, everything,
Yeah.
opposed to the standard, fan who comes week in week out, but just pays uh, their fee for the season ticket. It's a
Yeah.
fixed fee that, so yeah. And also, you'll notice other things as well, like they've clamped down on ticket touting so that they can basically do it themselves.
Yeah. And with a huge markup on those
Yes,
tickets.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah, and then you see the scams how they work. Just throw in lunch, a bit of champers, and it becomes a
I
VIP.
know, piss off, like,
It becomes a VIP experience. Some cheap champagne and a little bit, a few nibbles, and boom, there you go.
it's like
You,
600 quid.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's an absolute scandal.
And
So,
and then well, I'll tell you what's a disgrace. Like we've seen things on the timeline where when they're looking at the pitch and it's saying that Old Trafford is rat infested, and you're seeing them run on the pitch. Like
mhm,
what it's shameful stuff. That.
insert joke here. Springs to
Mm,
mind. Um, some people might say there's a few rats in the boardroom as well.
mm,
But yeah, to me, it seems as if they want to decrease the number of local season ticket holders and have
yes.
more, international fans
Hmm.
coming to the game, or one game a season fans
Yeah.
coming up from
Yeah.
Ireland or London or whatever.
And
Um,
listen, they come from all over the place. I was reading one story for the Newcastle game. A dude who came from Mongolia.
mhm.
Apparently, he cycled all the way from
Yeah, that's
Mongolia,
right.
and it
Yeah,
was his dream to come.
and it was
Yeah,
his dream to meet Wayne Rooney, and they provided that for him. I
yeah, yeah.
remember that. Yeah,
Yeah, it's a nice story, but listen, people come from far and wide. So yeah, and those are
yeah,
the kind of people they're trying to attract
yeah.
nowadays.
Could you imagine how much he spent in the megastore?
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, this is a once in a lifetime experience for him, right? Um, and he said it showed. I saw a picture of him with his mum as well, and he said, "Oh, so delighted to be able to share in this with his mum too." And I was thinking, I was like, "Oh, I hope his mum at least got a flight out and didn't join him on this biking journey."
Yeah. I doubt it. I very much doubt it.
Yeah, yeah, I'm sure she probably just flew out. Uh,
Yeah, yeah. But it's class that
yeah,
the he was taking on a stadium tour, and
yeah,
then
yeah.
to his surprise, Wayne Rooney comes walking up behind him,
Hmm.
and he's like overwhelmed.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's the least he could do for him, given that he cycled from Mongolia.
Yeah, definitely.
um, yeah, even the likes of me or you, if we go to a
Hmm.
game, we're 5 times as likely to spend in the
Yeah.
mega store than the local Salford fans.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Because obviously it's few and far between, right? So some of the things you want to pick up, you just think, oh, I might as well splurge, seeing as I'm here.
Yeah, I'm on holiday. I'm going to get
Yeah,
a few things. I'm going to
yeah,
get a
yeah,
United mug. I'm going to get a shirt. I'm
yeah,
going to get a scarf.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Just stupid things that you don't even need, but seeing as you're there, you might pick up one or two things.
I'm
I
going to
think
get
the
a
strangest
pen.
thing I've seen inside the Megazord, they had kettles with United logos on them.
Some things are just too tacky for my taste.
Yeah, yeah. I was like, who needs a Man United crest on their kettle?
Yeah, that's a bit much for me.
Branded clippers, like hair clippers, like it's
I
crazy.
know. And then like United Adidas shoes, like
Hmm.
Adidas shoes with United crest on them. Now, who's going to walk around
Yeah,
in
yeah,
them? Come off it,
yeah.
like, yeah,
Yeah, maybe if it was understated, maybe if it was like the Red Devil, but then it was all one color. If it was, yeah, maybe. But yeah, you
no,
don't. Yeah, as an adult, you can't walk
mm,
around with the United crest on your shoes.
no, no. A grown man could not get away with that, but
Yeah,
there's
no.
definitely people out there who will do it. You
Oh,
can, yeah,
definitely. Yeah, yeah, there are. Yeah, some
D-
people you see them and it looks like they got attacked by the megastore.
yeah,
In the tracksuit, got the hat on.
yeah. There's a guy who goes to a lot of the games, and I've seen him a few
Yeah,
times. He wears a full Man United suit.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
red, white, and black suit with all the
Hmm.
crest on it, and
Wow.
yeah, like red, white, and black trousers and socks
Hmm.
and shoes and the hat and everything, like, and the shirt and tie, just it's all red, white, and black, and yeah, it's so over the top. But each their own, like, who are we
Hmm.
to to judge what people wear? That's
Yeah,
it's a free world that we live in, and I
yeah, of
always say
course.
it's just not for me. Yeah.
Hmm.
I gotta say, I prefer my Armani watch to a Man United watch to every day of the week. To be honest, the only thing that I would be really interested in buying is that black goalkeeper shirt, which Onana's not
Yes,
doing proud.
yes. I'll get a blank one though. I don't want any names on the back of
No, no. If I was going to get a name, it would be like a past goalkeeper,
it.
definitely not the current one.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But no,
um,
it's a very classy kit. That one looks so nice. I would have liked it if that was the main away kit. To be fair,
yeah, we could make that the we should
for the outfield players.
make that the third kit next season or
Yeah,
something.
yeah, yeah. Very classy. Nice, simple as well. I like it.
Because of the demand, they weren't actually selling it in the first half of
Mm.
the season, but because of the
Hmm.
demand, they've started selling it now, and
Yeah.
they're obviously there's a big marketing campaign because they recognise
Hmm.
that it could be a money spinner.
Yeah, yeah. A lot nicer than that horrible, one they had a couple of years ago. I remember that the one. It reminds me of the Brentford defeat. That one. You know the one I'm talking about. The one that it looks like it glows in the dark. That shirt we had. I think it was third away kit or something.
Oh yes, 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 that's right.
It was like a lime green illuminous.
Yeah, I've actually got that because
Yeah.
at the end of that season, it was going for like 25
Well,
quid.
oh,
So
listen. Yeah, they were trying to give it away, weren't they? At the end of the season.
yeah.
But I remember, yeah, I just had difficulty seeing the players on the pitch because it kind of blended in with the lawn on occasion when it was sunny out.
Yeah, I do remember Casemiro got the winner at Bournemouth in that shirt,
Mm,
but Bournemouth are a much better team now, and
yeah,
we've got
yeah,
worse. So player ratings, unfortunately, and we'll end the
yeah,
show
yeah,
with that.
yeah. Mm.
I've tried to delay this as long as possible. So Onana, I'm sorry, he gets a 1 from me. Shocking. Mateus Delict, I give him a 4. Maguire a 5. Laniaro a 5. Yeah, it was not a good afternoon. Mazarahi probably at fault for the second goal at the back stick there, allowed Matoma to get a foot in and put the ball in the back of the net. He should have defended that better, in my opinion. So he would get a 4. Ugarte and Manu hooked. They were both uh, ineffectual in that game
Mhm.
and substituted to both substituted for the second game in a row. Um, he's not afraid to take his midfield off, is he, when things aren't going well?
Nope.
And not often you see that, but they would both get threes for me. We were just been bypassed in midfield.
It's quite concerning though, if you ask me, that that our two starting midfielders always come off.
Yeah. And at which point does Toby Collier get a start?
Mhm. Mhm.
Well, against Rangers might be the suitable game to give him a start
Yeah,
in.
yeah. Definitely the Steaua Bucharest one. I mean, obviously we
Yeah,
have to win Rangers first, but yeah,
yeah.
definitely I would say for the Steaua.
Um, Diogo Dallo, absolutely abysmal again. Um, just the defending for the second goal. is just disgraceful, and just his trademark now, where he gets absolutely nowhere near his man, and they just have time and space just to pick out someone at the back post. Um, so he get a two. Um, I'm a Diallo. We can't rely on him in every game. If we were given a rating for a Southampton game, arguably could be a 10 out of 10 for that performance.
Mm,
Mm, at least a 9. But
yeah.
yesterday, uh, he's always the main threat, but just could not quite make it happen
Nope.
yesterday. And with each goal we conceded, it get harder and harder
Hmm.
to get something from the game. So I'll give him a 6. And Joshua Zirkzee, I think he's now a better option than Hoyland, because Hoyland is terrible. He's offering absolutely
Yeah.
nothing. He can't make the ball stick. He doesn't hold the ball up. At least Zirkzee, when he comes deep, he can bring others into play.
Hmm.
If you play to his strengths, he
Yeah.
will provide you with something. He will help create chances for the wide players who play people in behind. He will hold the ball up better than Hoyland. Hoyland is he's went about 10 games without a goal, and he can't even hold the ball up. So if anyone's going to leave at the moment, it looks like at the
Mm.
end of the season it's going to be
Uh,
Hoyland. So
he's been quite fruitful in Europe, so maybe the Europa League is where he needs to
yeah,
play for a
in both
while.
in both seasons,
Yeah,
uh,
yeah.
that's where I think he's probably got more goals in Europe than he has in the Premier League for United
Yeah, yeah,
overall.
yeah. He probably has. Probably has. I know he definitely has this season.
But
But yeah,
that's not
yeah,
enough.
yeah. Honestly, but then what do you expect when you know, sign a guy who came from scoring 9 goals in the league in
Yeah,
Serie A?
and
I don't really blame him. We've just put him in an impossible situation. He's a project striker. We paid at least double what he's worth at most. Like
do you
we
see
just set
if
him up to fail.
he came in with an experienced goal scorer, he would
Yeah.
probably be a much better player now.
Yeah, definitely. And also, if we paid 25 to 30 million, I think it would have been far more reasonable, and the
Yeah,
expectations would have been lower. And he could have just got his head down and got on with it. But when you really look at that price tag, it's horrible.
that was an appalling window. Um,
Yeah, yeah,
Ho-
yeah,
Hoyland for 73 million,
yeah,
Mount for like 55 million, and then Onana
yeah,
for
yeah,
like 43 million.
yeah,
Absolutely
yeah,
appalling window that.
yeah. With add-ons as well. I think
Mm,
47 in total. I think that was.
awful.
Yeah.
Missing Mount because of his injuries, and Onana hasn't done it, and Hoyland hasn't done it. And
Yeah.
as I said earlier, the money we spent on Xerxes and Hoyland combined is 134 million.
Hmm.
Definitely could have got Harry Kane for that.
Mm.
So that was the recruitment has just been abysmal. I mean, just
Yeah.
unacceptable. And
Definitely.
uh, so Xerxes, I give him a 5 for yesterday, and Bruno
Mm.
Fernandez scoring the penalty, so I'll give him a 5 for that. But
Hmm.
otherwise, not at his best. Um, and the manager another defeat, so I have to give him a 4, unfortunately. But
Hmm.
I do believe that he is the right man. Just needs the tools, and
Yeah.
we're going to have to be very, very patient, especially if we sign no one in this window.
Very patient because we say tools, but if this 20-year-old kid is the one that's coming through the door, I'm not expecting a great deal to change on the pitch.
Yeah, but Ornstein and Romano did say that we are exploring other options, so this not
Hmm.
it's not guaranteed that we're going to sign Patrick Dorku.
Yeah,
We
yeah,
might end up signing a more experienced
yeah.
player in that
Apparently,
position.
Napoli interested in him as well.
Who aren't they
Uh,
interested in?
yeah, yeah. So yeah, I wonder because if we're reluctant to let go of Garnacho, I wonder if they turn their attention to this
So
kid.
yeah, if we sold Garnacho to Napoli,
Mm.
as I said earlier, we would have the money then to go and buy
By Kirkez, who would
Kirkes. Yeah,
who would be a first team starter and someone for the future as well. So somebody who could it would tick a lot of boxes.
and that's
Somebody who would make an
exactly
immediate impact and be just set.
and that's exactly what I want. And
Yeah.
you get a lot of ABUs who would say, "Why the hell would he leave Bournemouth right now to go play for
Hmm.
Man United in the bottom half of the table?" Well, players will always think that in the long term, Man United
Yeah,
have a better chance of winning things than Bournemouth. And
yeah.
two, he's probably going to have his wages doubled or tripled.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, look at Kvaratskhelia, gone from Napoli to PSG. I think his wages went up to about 200 grand.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. I think
really,
because his annual salary at Napoli, I think they said it was like 1.8 million euros, and now it's like 10
yeah,
at PSG.
yeah, really like the player,
Yeah.
but I hate when players go to PSG. I feel as if that's a waste of a career
Mm,
in a one team league. They're never going to win the Champions League. It just seems
mm.
like a waste to me.
They came close once. I mean, they got to a
Yeah,
final in
once
2020. Yeah,
once then when there was no crowd in 2020, they
yeah.
they almost scored against Bayern Munich in the final.
They have moved away from the sort of Galacticos mentality though. So yeah, one to keep an eye on, I guess,
Well,
the next couple of years.
the striker that they're trying to get rid of, he
Oh,
didn't work
he's
out, did
been
he?
terrible. Kolo Muani.
Yeah.
He's gone on loan to Juventus, I believe. They paid like 75 million for him. He's been absolute pants. His goal return's been atrocious.
Yeah, to say the least. He's got the goal record of a United striker.
Yeah, he does.
I have to come on to a comment that I read yesterday, and it's hard to disagree with.
Hmm.
So, actually, it was earlier on. I read it. If McTominay was kept and he was played as a striker, he'd have more goals than Hoyland and Xerxes combined.
Probably. Last game I saw of Napoli over the weekend, he scored actually.
Scored again, yeah.
In a 3-2 win against Atalanta. They're top of the
Yeah.
table at the moment.
Yeah,
Lukaku scored as well, so another former United player
yeah, I
living
saw
their
that
best
because it
life.
was it was on
Yeah,
TNT and they were putting up the highlights on
yeah,
social.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
It's quite good.
uh,
I was looking at that and I was thinking, I was like, you know what? I wonder if Marcus is having a look at this, going, I should maybe try and engineer a move to Napoli. Go link up with those boys again.
yeah, it seems like every United player wants to go to Napoli now.
Yeah, yeah.
Win some silverware, win a league title, which
Hmm.
a league title seems like light years away at Old Trafford.
Yeah.
Um, if we're not careful, we're going to go the full 26 years again without winning the league.
I mean,
Um,
look how long it's been already. Like it goes by in such a flash, doesn't it?
yeah, it's going to be 12 at least.
Yeah.
So we shall wrap it up there. Please, everybody, like the video if you're watching on YouTube. Subscribe to the podcast on YouTube or Spotify or Apple or wherever you get your podcasts. And I really appreciate all the views, listens, and downloads. And Brush, it's been a pleasure as always.
Yeah, yeah. I'll catch you next time. Take care.
Hopefully, a happy result next time.
Hopefully, hopefully.
Brilliant.
But I'm not going to hold my breath.
All right, I'll see you later.